On today's show, Bradley Beal traded to the Phoenix Suns. What? Does that mean that Deandre Ayton is headed to the Dallas Mavericks? Should he? And let's talk about some rumors with the Mavs and the Hawks, more trade rumors and stuff. Oh, it's the best time in the year on Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Join the Raccoon Squad. Be an everydayer. Subscribe or follow for free. Just search Locked On Mavericks wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section. Are you interested in Deandre Ayton now that Bradley Beal is a Phoenix Sun and they're going to need to trade him for a couple players? Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us, the growing number of people part of our subtext group. I was texting with everybody today during the Bradley Beal stuff. I was texting about some rumors that I was reading, all kinds of stuff. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description below. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com, the we back boy, the one more thing king. I'm so glad you're back, Isaac Harris.
I'm back, baby. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I had limited service. I was down near Houston, which thanks for all the prayers for me being in Houston. And
was it more humid there or in Dallas right now? Because it is so humid outside.
It was, and I was outside for most of the week, so I have some insane tan lines. And the humidity, I felt like I was just walking on the sun. But I'm back. This is one of the best weeks of the whole year. I was so excited. I have podcasts ready to listen to. I think the Mavs are going to make a trade this week. I'm ready for this. And then my first day, like back, quote, online, air quote, online, Brad Beal. We have Matt Ishbia with the classic new owner syndrome here.
Classic.
Just a classic move. So the NBA is firing on all cylinders right now.
Today, we'll get into a bunch of rumors and things that are happening. We'll talk about the Hawks rumors between John Collins and Clint Capela and what the Mavs wanted and what the Hawks were willing to give up. We'll talk about that whole rumor. We'll talk a little bit about Kyrie Irving. We got some new stuff from Mark Stein in the inbox. Have to. If you're a Mavericks fan, subscribe to Mark Stein's Substack. Yep. It's the best stuff, right to the minute on Mav stuff. We may talk about some coaching stuff. There's a Christian Wood rumor. There's Grant Williams versus Harrison Barnes. We may get to all that stuff. There's just a lot to get to today, but we're going to start here. We'll start with the Bradley Beal trade. Bradley Beal is headed to the Phoenix Suns. He gets traded for, actually nothing. Nothing. A bunch of seconds.
Like those barbecue, Frito, twisty Fritos.
You don't like the barbecue twist Fritos?
No, I'm saying he got traded for him. I love those things.
I love those too. They're good frozen too. Random.
Crap?
Yeah, random, but they are. He gets traded for second round, a bunch of second round picks, pick swaps that aren't going to amount to anything. The Suns don't own any of their draft now throughout the rest of the 7 years. Chris Paul, who's going to get traded to a third team or waived or whatever. And Landry Shamet, who was not really a positive contract for the Suns. So, and the Wizards are reportedly getting back Jordan Goodwin, who's a young, interesting defensive.
Suns are getting back.
Suns are getting him back, correct, from the Wizards. And so that even made the trade even weird. So I think a lot of people are looking at this going, wait, why? Why did this happen? Well, one, Bradley Beal has the only no trade clause in his contract, which travels with him to the Suns. So he was not going to go anywhere he didn't want to. So even if Miami's package was better, then he could just say, no, I don't want to go there. I want to go to the Suns. Plus, also, his agent is Mark Bartelstein. You want to talk about, the Mavs got screwed because Jalen Brunson's, godfather was the GM of the Knicks. Mark Bartelstein is Bradley Beal's agent, and Mark Bartelstein's son, Josh Bartelstein, is the CEO of the Suns. So this happens all over the NBA now. And so for those two literally those two reasons, the Wizards giving him that ridiculous no trade clause that he should never have gotten. Nobody has one, not even LeBron, not even Luka, nobody. And the agent connection to the Sun, and then you mentioned it earlier, Matt Ishbia's like new owner syndrome, where they're just like, let me do it. Can I do it? Like, let me cook. Let me bring in. I'm going to show this town that I'm willing to spend and all that. Those three reasons. That's why he's a Phoenix Sun, and that's why he got sent for nothing, because he wasn't going to go anywhere that he didn't want to go.
Yeah, one of my friends texted me today and said Ishbia is just trading Pokemon cards. And
yeah,
like, well,
that's
pretty true.
There's been people that have been like tweeting at me today and commenting on YouTube stuff and saying, I thought this couldn't happen because of the second apron and because of this new CBA. You guys have been talking about this new CBA. How come the Suns can do this and the Mavericks can't do that? Those kind of things. All right, here's the thing. You can do anything you want. You can collect as many like stars and huge contracts as you want. The problem is, in like 2 years from now, the Suns are going to have the last pick in the draft every year while they have all these contracts under the books. They'll not be able to aggregate players and trades. They can't do 2-for-1 trades. They can't do like all kinds of stuff that they'll be hampered by. And so they're making this bet that, all right, for one more year, let's go all in. For like basically 2 years, we'll go all in and see what happens with this threesome and see what we can get for Ayton. And that's kind of it. They'll just get minimum guys. Can't even get buyout guys if you're, under this restriction. So that's what the Suns are betting on. The Mavs could do that. I just don't think it would be a smart thing for them to do. And so that's why we've been talking about this. And a lot of teams are going to think that.
Yeah. So, I mean, for Phoenix, they're just saying, the whole thing with the second apron is like to limit these teams. And Phoenix is looking at it saying, all right, well, if we can put together the best trio in the league, then who cares about the second apron stuff?
Right.
And like you said, it's going to take a little bit, or at least another year for all the restrictions to kick in. So, they're in the ultimate win now mode. Like they hired Frank Vogel. They have Kevin Durant and Booker. Right. Like they're in win now mode. So the next thing for them is now they got to figure out what's the rest of the roster. They have the bird rights to some of their guys that are, free agents that could be minimum guys. But now the DeAndre Ayton hammer is about to drop at some point. He's probably not even a hammer, but that trade is going to be the key for them, because when you start looking at Ayton suitors around the league, he can't be a salary dump. Like they can't, like it's not one of those things like, hey, to save money, they're just going to dump him to, San Antonio or OKC or something. They have to turn him into pieces. So they have to be looking around the league right now saying, can we turn DeAndre Ayton into 2 to 3 pieces? And if you're Dallas, we've already seen some tweets and stuff, to us about it's like, can Dallas get Ayton for just a couple of pieces? For me, I think that the likelihood of Ayton ending in Dallas, if you're in that camp, I think that the likelihood goes down a little bit, because if I'm Phoenix, if I'm wanting to turn Ayton into 2 to 3 pieces, then I have to get either a point guard or a big back in that deal. And if like Dallas's sake, like the biggest pieces that they have to trade is like a Bertans or a Tim Hardaway or maybe a Maxi Kleba or maybe a Reggie Bullock. Like they don't have a point guard. They don't have a big that they can, JaVale just doesn't count, that they can put into that deal for DeAndre Ayton. So I wasn't in love with the DeAndre Ayton addition to Dallas, but I think after this deal, it kind of lowers the percentages of Dallas's chances.
If they did JaVale McGee, Maxi Kleba, Tim Hardaway, you get 2 rotation players. You get 1 like center that they can just throw into their group, because they'll probably keep Jock Landale. I don't know what happens to Bismack Biyombo, but let's just say they go with those guys. JaVale was good for them year before last, and that's why we thought he would be good for the Mavericks. We were convinced of that before the season. But what if they do that? That trade matches up salary-wise.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in love with that with Dallas. Like Tim and Maxi for DeAndre Ayton. That one's kind of tough for me. Can I throw a 3-team trade at you real quick?
Yeah, give it to me.
What if Atlanta called and said, "Hey, we want DeAndre Ayton," and what if it's a three-way trade, no draft picks involved, and it's Reggie Bullock and Clint Capela to Phoenix, it's DeAndre Ayton and Bertans to Atlanta, and John Collins to Dallas. So basically, if you're Dallas, would you trade Bertans and Reggie Bullock for John Collins?
Oof. In a vacuum, you'd say yes, right? Like just in a vacuum. But I don't know if does Collins have positive value because of his contract, because of the level of player he is. Like, you're just basically saying, okay, is John Collins better and more what we need than Reggie Bullock? And I don't know if that answer is yes.
And he's way more expensive, and it's
definitely way more expensive too. But he's younger. He's more athletic. He can rebound. He can hit
if
a
you're
3.
Phoenix, you like it though, right? I mean, Clint Capela and Reggie Bullock for Ayton.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I think for them, maybe they'll want
And if
one
you're-
more player, but they'll get some minimum guys because they got some minimum guys before this.
Yeah, if you're Atlanta, you're swapping Clint Capella and John Collins for Ayton. I think they'd do that.
I don't know if they do that, but I guess they've been wanting to get off of John Collins' deal. So then they have to get off of money, which I don't know how much money they get off of with Ayton, but yeah, that one's interesting.
Yeah,
I'm so fast. That's the next piece to fall is DeAndre Ayton and to see where he goes and what happened.
And I think there's a lot of teams out there that it could work if you start looking around and saying, but it's hard to gauge his value. Brogdon and Rob Williams in Boston, a Terry Rozier, Nick Richards type deal in Charlotte.
Yeah.
You can look at some 3-team deals. And so I think that they'll be able to pull it off, at least 2 pieces. But I think Dallas's chances at landing DeAndre Ayton, I think, took a little hit.
Which I think we're okay with.
Which we're okay with. I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah. There's other options I would much rather have. If he was the only center option, you're like, all right, you go back into the season with the same centers you had, or DeAndre Ayton. Like if that was the choice, then I think I would go Ayton. But I don't think that's the choice now.
But if it's Tim and Bertans, that's pretty low value for DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I would do that.
I mean, I'm listening to that. Yeah, if I'm Dallas, but that has to be low value.
Coming up, let's talk about some other rumors throughout the NBA. The Mavericks were in talks with the Hawks recently about John Collins. They asked for Clint Capela. What happened? What does Isaac think about it? We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Ibotta. Groceries, school shopping, getting a little something for yourself. You already know that you're doing it. We've got to buy things. Everybody does. So why don't you get Ibotta? And it'll help you out. You can earn cash back on every shopping trip. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's easy. All kinds of different things use points, but they give you cash back. Other apps will give you points that don't amount to too much, but with Ibotta, you can get real cash back, and you can cash out your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Get all kinds of stuff with that cash back. So it's basically a discount on every single thing that you buy. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKED, LOCKED, capital L. I don't know if you need to do that, but capital L, OCKED. When you register, go to the App Store or the Google Play and download the free Ibotta app. Use the code LOCKED. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, Ibotta. In the App Store or Google Play, there'll be a link in the description. And go check it out. Use the code LOCKED. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of this show, part of the Raccoon Squad, and every dayer. We're talking about all kinds of Mavs rumors. We just talked about the Bradley Beal situation. If the Mavericks should get into DeAndre Ayton, we think that it kind of lowers their chances to get DeAndre Ayton. We're okay with that, and that's because there are other options on the table. So let's get into this.
Can I throw out my favorite Ayton trade real quick?
Hold on, can you just say it?
I'm sorry, one more thing.
Next time, don't wait till it's 3 seconds left to talk.
I just gotta throw this out there real quick. DeAndre Ayton to Chicago, DeMar DeRozan to the Grizzlies, Tyus Jones, Kennard, and Tillman to the Suns. Call it in.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry. Didn't have nothing to do with the Mavs. It's just something I've been thinking about.
Tyus Jones is probably not going to be on the Grizzlies, which is so weird because Ja's going to miss a bunch of games. I don't understand that at all. I don't understand that rumor at all. Let's talk about the Mavs and Hawks. So Jake Fisher, friend of the pod, reported recently the Mavericks are considering options to move down from 10, including the middle of the first round. They are in talks with, for example, the Mavs and Hawks, for example, discussed the idea of swapping Davis Bertans and the 10th pick for John Collins and the 15th pick. Although those talks do not appear to have progressed, Mark Stein updated that report and said that they had no common ground during this discussion and that the Mavericks asked for Clint Capela instead of John Collins in that. What are your thoughts on the Collins trade and then the Mavericks coming back and saying, all right, we want Clint Capela? Have the Mavericks learned something? Are the Mavericks learning? Are we excited about this? They asked for Clint Capela instead of John Collins.
Well, I thought it was interesting that Stein just put it, pretty straightforward that was Atlanta's offer and Dallas said no.
Right.
As far as like Collins and 15 for Bertans and 10. The tricky part about that is there has to be some other money in that for Dallas and, in the Collins deal because it's about
JaVale.
$8 million. There's about did he say JaVale?
No, but that would be the one that makes the most sense.
Oh, because that's the thing that would make a little bit more sense to me if I was Dallas. Like if it was Josh Green in that deal and it's Josh Green 10 and Berton, but like that, you would understand why Dallas said no at that point, right? Like pretty
Correct.
overwhelming.
Yeah,
Like, okay, I totally get it. So it kind of depends a little bit on like what that other salary is. If it was honestly JaVale, Bertans, and 10 for Collins and 15, I'm doing the deal. Like if I was Dallas. And I'm not the biggest John Collins fan out there. But when you start looking at that and you're saying JaVale and Bertans don't play at all. So you're turning two net negative guys who are not even in the rotation to move back 5 spots and add a John Collins. Like you don't even have to start John Collins, but John Collins is by far a better player than both those two dudes combined.
Yeah.
And he's still 25 and he has some playoff experience. He's had 5 playoff series. He's went to a conference finals before. So like, and I can't sit here and do a whole big pitch for John Collins because it's not like I'm like all about, I don't own any property on John Collins Island, but if you're just moving back 5 spots, and maybe it's just because of my love for Omax.
Yeah. Oh, at 15.
Oh, I would take him at 15.
I would hope that Lively would still be there at 15.
Oh yeah. Lively at 15 would be fine. Hawkins at 15, but I think I would do it. Like if that was the difference. Yeah.
If it came down to it, I definitely talked myself into that deal. I'm sure you talked about, we texted about this, and I'm sure you talked about a little bit about the whole John Collins, Aaron Gordon thing. We did.
The difference of that is Gordon is such a better defender.
For sure.
And but the in theory, on paper, John Collins fits that mold of who's the guy who makes over 20 million, who has been asked to do a little bit more, maybe out of like position responsibilities, that you could put him in a winning, like a different situation. Cause I mean, they won some Atlanta, a different situation to where his role is more defined than you'd hope. Like that's what you're pitching to John Collins, saying,
right,
be our Aaron Gordon if you went and traded for him. But yeah, I think I would do it. And that's kind of weird for me to say that because there's not many John Collins trades I was like really championing for.
A Christian Wood type where you're like, all right, come in and we'll define your role and try that. Like it can go either way. It can go in Aaron Gordon.
Christian Wood.
Correct. It can go an Aaron Gordon way or it can go a Christian Wood way, right? Like that's the risk that you're taking with a guy like this, but you have to take those risks. Every title team has had one of those guys where they traded for him, they brought him in, and he was much better on their team because he just fit better. The role was better. He's more defined, coached better, players next to him. Like Aaron Gordon was not this on the Magic. He was a different type of player. They were trying to make him Paul George, ball in your hand, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like, would you rather have John Collins and Omax, or Bertans and Hendricks?
Oh, that's tough.
I know, like that's where it's kind of coming down to. And he can run a pick and roll with Luka. His shooting, if you believe 2 years ago or if you believe last year, it kind of determines if you think he was a shooter or not. But I think let's lump Clint Capela into this. Why Dallas wants Capela? I would prefer Capela over John Collins.
Same.
Shorter contract. He is 4 years older than Collins. He's at 29, so he's going to be turning 30 next year. But he's at $20 million this year, 22 next year. He has a ton of playoff experience, and what you have defined in that big man role is like the rim roller, to grab rebounds, protect the paint. Like he does all of that. So I get why they would want him over John Collins, but honestly, I would take either one of them if it just meant moving back 5 spots and it's Bertans and JaVale. For that deal in a vacuum. Like if you look at those deals in a vacuum, then yes, you do it. But for the Mavericks, we've talked about this a lot. These moves, they're going to make 2 or 3, maybe 4 moves this offseason, and they have to nail them because they have to hit on these no matter what it is. Like a lot of people think, well, they have to bring in a young player. They have to get veterans. It doesn't matter. Whatever they do, they have to hit on these moves, and they have to be players. They can't do what they did last year and bring in a Christian Wood and a JaVale McGee. And it just doesn't, neither of them works. Like you just can't have that happen this season. And so John Collins, maybe he comes in and works out, but that would be a risk. Clint Capela is less of a risk, fits what you want and what you need a lot better. He's played with James Harden, and so that he can play with this type of player like Luka and would be incredible pick and roll. Yeah, and Trae Young too. Be an incredible pick and roll partner with him, much better rebounder and all that. So what you're getting. One of the best rebounders in the league. Yeah. And that you can also bench him down the stretch. Yeah. And that he wouldn't freak out about it and
pull Deandre Ayton. So, but my thoughts on the Mavericks asking for Capela instead of John Collins, I think that's good. It shows that they've learned and like, hey, we've got to address this problem. And I hope that the Mavericks take that mentality into all these moves coming up this week and say, hey, we've got to address our needs. We can't just take a trade just because we think that it's a good trade in value. Like you said, you would do the John Collins trade. I think overall, though, if you just do the John Collins trade, they take the first one that comes up to you, it's a mistake because you haven't addressed your need as directly. And if they can't address their need directly, they have to.
Yeah, I think my only thing to that is like Bertans and JaVale are under contract for next year. And I am in the camp of like, I want to win next year. So to swap out two guys that are not going to be playing for you next year to add John Collins to this and basically keep all your assets. I mean, moving back 5 spots, you still get a young guy and you still got all the other trade pieces. I think that's pretty like John Collins wouldn't have to start. So I don't know. This feels yucky that I'm like defending.
I'm not as high on it as you seem to be. I'm actually surprised that you're this high on it. But coming up, let's talk about some other.
I'm literally trying to say I'm not. This is hard for me to.
You're trying to talk yourself out of it, but you're like, I'm in on this. Like I didn't expect to be in on it.
I need some talent.
Coming up, let's talk about some other rumors. Are there no more suitors left for Kyrie after the Suns got Beal? We'll talk about that and more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You can go to Prize Picks all throughout the summer and check out all kinds of stuff. Reds baseball is killing it right now. Isaac and I both grew up in areas around Cincinnati Reds, and you can bet on them. You can bet on the Rangers, all kinds of things throughout this. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players, and the more or less on their right now what they have for I'm pulling up baseball. They have a hitter fantasy score. So like Nolan Arenado has like a 7.5 coming up against the Nationals. So you can pick him more or less on that. You can go to a Reds player, Jonathan India, 7.5 more or less on that. And it's fun to try and have some stuff that's on these individual games. Corey Seager, 8.5 against the White Sox coming up on Monday. If I do more on every single one of those, let's say I'm feeling like those guys are going to be hot that night. I put down just $20. I can win $45 on that right now. If I put down like $50, I can win $112.50. That's a very specific number. And if I do the power play on that, I can win $250. All kinds of fun stuff on Prize Picks. Use the promo code LOCKED to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Again, promo code LOCKED at prizepicks.com. All right, Isaac Harris, we're talking all about rumors. We talked about the Hawks potential trade that happened over the offseason. Seems like that's dead now. Like if I'm just taking that as will it happen, it doesn't sound like it will, but it is on the table, it feels like.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's dead. I would just say
but the talks didn't go anywhere. That's what all the reports came from.
Yeah. I mean, but we know how much stuff around draft stuff that could make that more enticing.
It's moving. It's all moving.
Would Dallas take back John Collins if one of the young guys from Atlanta's in a deal, or a future pick, down the line or something like that? I don't know.
I was deep in a rumor this weekend, and I saw that someone said that what if they just give you John Collins? Like, what if they want to get off of that money so badly? They're like, take John Collins and 15 for Davis, whose contract expires basically next year. Like, what if they did that? I'm like, oh yeah, heck yeah, I'd do that deal.
Oh yeah,
just take the money and get the extra first round pick for it.
I don't think they're trying to do a Brad Beal deal.
Well, they didn't even have to they didn't give up anything for Brad Beal. They didn't really get anything for Brad Beal. But on the Kyrie Irving front, now that Bradley Beal is in Phoenix, it takes the Suns completely out of the Kyrie situation, right? Like I don't see any scenario where they go after Kyrie now. And also we had Woj over the weekend say the Lakers are considered very unlikely to acquire a player like Kyrie Irving or Brad Beal. This was before the Brad Beal trade. There's no big game hunting out there for the Lakers. This is Adrian Wojnarowski saying this. What are your thoughts now on the suitors? How many suitors are left for Kyrie now that the Suns are off of it, and possibly the Lakers?
Well, we got to get LeBron to fire back in the chess match.
Yeah, but now he's changed his sights to Michael Malone. So you've seen that?
Oh, that's been the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, dude. Anyway, so we'll get a LeBron retirement threat at some point coming up soon.
We already got that. He's already taking that out of his chamber.
Yeah, I mean, here's about whole stance on Kyrie. It hasn't changed at all. I think he's coming back to Dallas. I think it'll be a long-term deal. It'll probably be more money than a lot of us are comfortable with, but there will be a team or maybe two that will be in the mix come free agent time, because they need another team. Like Kyrie's camp needs another team to be bidding too. So it hasn't surprised me. Some other teams have been thrown out there, whether it's Miami, whether it's Houston, whether it's another team that, the Clippers or whoever it is that, we get a report coming up, sometime over the next week that's like, this team's registered interest in Kyrie Irving. It doesn't, like, these teams doesn't, it doesn't shock me at all. They need other teams bidding for them to go up to that number. And I think they will. I don't think he gets the full max in Dallas, 5 years and all of that. I'm expecting a 3+1, or maybe it was just a 4 years. But yeah, that's just kind of how I expected it to turn out.
Yeah, you said it. There's only two teams I can see right now that'll be interested in Kyrie, that have expressed an interest in Kyrie, is the Heat. Now that they lost Brad Beal, their sights are set on Damian Lillard, according to Haynes, but there have been no indications that Damian Lillard wants to leave, besides him joking on Instagram Live about going to Miami and playing with Bam. So unless that happens, maybe then if they are really serious about adding another offensive creator, then they're like, all right, well, then Kyrie's the guy that we can possibly get. The Mavs would have to facilitate a sign and trade with them, and I don't know if they're going to be interested in Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, or whoever gets sent back for them. And then the other team is the Houston Rockets, and with the Houston Rockets, he's like 3 or 4 players down the list of players that they want to spend their money on, and I cannot see that going well for them. And I don't know. Maybe Houston would think that would work, but I just can't imagine that. I also can't imagine Kyrie going there and like being happy playing with them in that team. But like you said, he and his camp have to have some boogeyman, like somebody out there that's interested in him to drive the price up. It's all about negotiation, bargaining, and leverage right now.
Yep. So fully expect it over the next week.
The other news that came up is Mike Scotto of Hoops Hype said that the latest team to have interest in Grant Williams looking ahead to free agency is the Dallas Mavericks. It's worth noting that Williams and Mavericks star Luka Doncic are both represented by WME Sports, which is Bill Duffy. Grant Williams also wears Luka's every game, which is awesome. Scotto also said that the Mavericks are interested in free agent forward Harrison Barnes, according to the league source. We've talked about both of these players. If you were given the option of both of them, who would you take?
I feel like I'm betraying him, but I would probably say Grant Williams. Yeah.
You're betraying Harrison Barnes, your boy?
Yeah. I mean, I love HB. I don't know if HB would come back here.
That's been my thing. If you listen to this pod, you know that I said that months ago. Why would he want to come back to a team that kind of embarrassed him, trading him in the middle of that game? Like, that was devastating for him, trading him to a team that I don't know if he wanted to go to Sacramento. I think he's happy there now, but I don't think he wanted to go there at the time.
I'll take it a step further. I don't know how much he liked playing with Luka. But
also
Grant Williams, though, he's 24 years old. I mean, I just don't understand. I don't know how they would really afford him, I guess. I mean, I guess if they could, I don't think you're doing a sign and trade stuff and getting all those restrictions for Grant Williams. So I don't know. I mean, I guess if you could clear up the MLE somehow and, be able to offer that.
Can you do some kind of sign and trade for Tim Hardaway?
Yeah, but then you're getting into the hard cap stuff. Like,
I'm just saying,
when you pull off a sign and trade like that, like, I don't know if Dallas can really put themselves into the hard cap world for Grant Williams. But I mean, I like him though. I mean, I like his fit in Dallas. I think he would. I mean, he's a bigger body guy that can guard these bigger wings, that can play around in a small ball. He'd be like kind of a thicker Dorian Finney-Smith. He could hit the 3-2. Yeah, I think he's a little corny, and his teammates, I don't know how much they like him sometimes, but I think he would fit in Dallas basketball. I just don't know how they'd afford him really. Yeah,
I don't understand. I don't understand that piece of it either. There's got to be some kind of move, some kind of sign and trade, some kind of thing, because he's going to be a free agent, or he could be a free agent. I think does he have a player option? I think that's what he has, but
I think he's restricted. Maybe no, he's not. I can't remember.
There's so many players with so many things, but yeah, he would be the player that I'd rather have him than Harrison Barnes. He's a much better shooter. I think Harrison Barnes better with the ball in his hands, but we've seen that kind of play out where he's got the ball in his hands, but it's more of like a post-up ISO instead of create in any kind of way. And so I get that. And Grant Williams like 6 years younger than Harrison Barnes, which is just wild to think about.
Yeah. I mean, definitely
he's restricted. Grant Williams is a restricted free agent, so they could sign him to an offer sheet, I guess, but they don't have the cap to do that. The Mavs don't have the cap to do that, so it would have to be some kind of sign and trade with that. Maybe they want Tim Hardaway or something, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, this week, I mean, I feel like everything as far as like Mavs rumors right now, anybody who talks about anything with the draft is Dallas wants out of the 10th pick.
To move down or to move out.
Yeah, so I'm so curious of what that's going to look like. I mean, it feels like the top of the draft is going to hold everybody up for a little bit of seeing what, Charlotte, what Portland, those guys do. I have some flaming hot draft takes that we can throw out in the next few days. Like for me, I don't know what Charlotte's doing. Like you take Scoot Henderson, be done with this. I don't know why they've played around with it.
They're selling their team is what they're doing.
But MJ's going to meet with the guys though. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think Dallas is going to be really active. They're one of those teams. There's a lot of those teams out there that wants to get significantly better and kind of overhaul the roster in a way. And wouldn't shock me at all if we see a big Dallas trade this week, or we see Dallas hop in as like a third team on some of these. And, like the Beal trade, it's not official yet. They're probably going to hold this thing out for a while and see if the Clippers or somebody could be a third team and part of the deal, or, so Dallas over under 1.5, over under a half trade this week for Dallas.
Oh, over a half. If you're going to give me 1.5, I would think about that one. But I think they're making at least one with the pick. And so we know that it could be reported before draft night, but on draft night, if they trade anything to do with the 10th pick, it'll be on draft night.
Somebody's wearing a Mavs draft hat on draft night.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because they have to draft the player, even if they trade out of it completely. So somebody will. But we'll have it all covered for you. We're 5 days a week all throughout the offseason. Tomorrow we'll be back with Isaac's steaming hot draft takes.
At this point, we're more than 5 days a week. So
yeah, that's true. I did do 2 episodes over the weekend. So we're fully in our draft dash and free agency dash where we continue to do every single day. So stick with us, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom. Boom.